gets back home tonight. And the clock just starts right over, and the walls come closing in, and the bathroom dips and then twirls, and your eyes get sunken in so deeply you can't recognize the face you see so easily. No one gets back home tonight.
Welcome back, everybody, to part 2 of this lovely interview that we are having with the wonderful Erica Vogel. If you didn't catch part 1, I say go back and watch it because it has been absolutely amazing getting to know you so far. It is awesome. And we are joined here with Jess as well as Riv is away.
That's right. That's right. Welcome back, everyone. I noticed that we're getting some questions in the chat, especially from Bree, who
Bree,
is
slow down. Stop
fabulous
spamming.
at thinking of different questions.
Okay.
Before we get into any of those, which Erica, it's not an exam, so you will not have to answer all of them, but we'll probably pick.
Honey, I always pass exam.
But I had something that I wanted to ask you about, too, which is I know, because I've been very on and off social media as well, and I've gone off for like really long periods of time. But I know you have mentioned, I've caught that you are you releasing part of a memoir on you're doing something with writing and Substack and a memoir, and
Yes.
I wanted you to tell us what's up with that. Are you releasing a memoir? Are you what's going on? What's
Okay.
going on?
So because long form writing outside of, oh, by the way, my book, you always gotta be
Yay!
plugging. Always be plugging.
Go buy the book.
Go buy the book. It's not that expensive. I have Substack. I write in Substack, and it's always free. Although, if you would love to donate a coffee to your girl, please feel free. There's always links at the bottom of every one. But my work will always be free there. So there you'll find some of the videos. I've been recently doing videos from the book, right, just to kind of help move it along. But there'll be writings on. Actually, 3 weeks ago, I posted an open letter to Pete Buttigieg about his comments about trans people, and it really kind of, and it's like, before you read it, it's not me like excoriating Pete, and it's speaking in his very like political language to him, so it's a language in which he will hear, right? So that's one of the things you'll find there. But I also have what I'm calling an episodic memoir, because one of the things people ask me, particularly people who were reviewers of the book, they're like, I mean, the book is cool, but I want to hear more about your story, because you get little snippets of my story in the book, but it's not a book about my stories. It's more like, here's something you should think about. Here's what happened to me. Right. So the episodic memoir is a very sort of out of time type of thing. So it's basically, I have a spreadsheet of like 28 to 30 happenings in my life that I want to write about. And I just pick one every 2 or 3 weeks and write about it. So it's definitely not linear.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And I think there's 6 episodes. And so it's an episodic. It's about 2,500 words per time. Whereas in the book, it's like maybe 750 words to 1,000 words per topic. Okay. So it gives me a chance to tell the whole story and not be like, I need to give them a little story and then like, here's what you should do. So it covers the very chaotic lifestyle that I've had. Like, I am the child of, my mom passed last year, but she was on her 5th marriage. So I've had 4 stepfathers. She also was Atlanta's largest white collar pot dealer. So like literally selling pot to the mayor.
Love that.
Been shuffled around between parents. Lots of crazy things have happened in my life. And so I'll get on and I'll talk about her. And recently I've been talking about my high school years, where I knew that I was queer. I knew that I was trans, but didn't really quite have language for that, because, I'm old enough that high school was in the 80s. And we didn't have great representation. It would be 4 years before I ran into RuPaul on the street in Atlanta, actually.
Wow.
Yeah. But I had the chance to be in a national commercial, because I was taking this video class at school. I was part of we have a magnet program. So I was part of the School of Communications. I'm really going down a rabbit hole, Jess. Sorry.
No, you're doing great.
And so this is the most recent one I posted about the commercial that I got to be in, because I worked on, so the school had brought in a video producer from what was Pinewood Studios and now is called Trilith Studios, but it was
Okay.
way back in the 80s when it hardly was anything yet. But it like 2 years after I graduated high school, they filmed parts of like Boys in the Hood, for example. So it was like on the verge. And so I got the chance to be in a national commercial, and I found that commercial. And it's in that Substack article. You can find it. Now, the trick is that while I'm in the commercial, what I am in the commercial is a set of city lights going past a train window, right? So let me lay this out for you. So it was a bra commercial for Cross Your Heart bras, which was quite a weird thing to find myself on as someone who was questioning their gender. I was like,
It's fitting.
This is fitting. This is so weird. And they wound up asking me like, hey, can you be the person that pushes a dolly back and forth by the train window in the set while the model's like getting ready for dinner to make it look like a city's going by in the background? So I spent 8 hours of that day laying on a dolly with a light switch in my hand for 2 lights on poles while having a 2x4 of Christmas lights strapped to my back, just sort of sliding past the window 8 hours a day, right? So go to Substack, look up the Trans Aunty or Erica M. Vogel is my handle. And the most recent one. And so the episodic memoir is under the title Blue Sky Bird.
Okay.
Right. And I'll tell the story about that. Whereas everything else is under the label of Trans Aunty, but in Substack, you can have multiple sections.
Of your same Substack? Okay.
Yeah.
I have not ever written on Substack, so that's
it's
that's cool. That makes sense.
People ask me enough when I wrote the book, like, I want to know more about your background. And I'm like, I don't know if you do, but okay, let's do it. Because it was a lot. So anyways, you can go see that commercial, and I'm in like the first 10 seconds, just sort of slowly sliding by, but I look like a city. That's me.
Awesome.
So that Substack place is a place to talk about that, but it's also a place to write an open letter to Pete Buttigieg, or an article I'm working on right now, which is what the Democratic strategy should be, which will be posted there. And then like, I'll have to like post it over 1 million posts in fucking social media, because that's how that works.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Then you have content, at least.
Yeah, I have content.
guess.
But no, I didn't get, any like SAG-AFTRA card from that. I didn't get
Nothing.
anything.
For the city lights.
But I was in a national commercial. Now you all
There
know
you
it.
go.
That is so
That's
cool.
a great claim to fame.
That's just one.
Yeah.
So you did mention that you're an author and you're building up this lovely set of memoirs. But you have published a wonderful book, my understanding, bestseller.
Rumor has it.
Love
yes.
that. We love that. How did you get into writing, and what was your big push for that? Like, let's dive into you, the writer.
Yeah. So it starts pretty young for me. My mom was a writer. She was a poet. She never published any of her work, unfortunately, though I have some. I've been toying with the idea of putting it out there. She always wrote poetry, and she was always writing, and she loved, like, she just had legal pad after legal pad with just like stuff on there. Now, the real problem is that my mom's handwriting looks pretty, but it's darn near illegible because it's just loops. So if you don't know her handwriting, like when she would send me a birthday card, my wife would look at it. She'd like, I need you to translate this. It looks so pretty, but it is not legible. So that is sort of the hard part with her poetry, is me being like, I'm not sure what word this is. However, but also her dad, my grandfather, and her brother, my uncle, were both university professors, right? So my grandfather was a professor at Texas A&M, I believe, and head of the English department. So he taught the classics. His favorite was Chaucer's Tales. So the amount of knowledge, useless knowledge I have about Chaucer could fill up for about 4 of these podcasts, because it was forced at me as a kid. And then my uncle is also professor of classics, but he loved like Beowulf. So also I know way too much about Beowulf. So I grew up in this very sort of, literary household because of them. And my mother in high school, she spent all of her high school years grading my grandfather's college papers for him. And I also found myself in high school helping my English. We had a doctor of English in my high school, and I was helping him grade his papers because of what my mom forced me to do. Fun fact, I hated reading as a kid. So this did not go over well. But I eventually fell into comic books. I was a big fan of comic books. And eventually my mom, made me read like Huck Finn and Tom Sawyer, all this stuff. I had to do book reports as a 12-year-old in the summer due to my mother
What?
weekly.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
She would take me to the
horrendous.
library, drop me off, and be like, pick out a book, and you will give me a book report at the end of the week. And I was like, this is a great way to spend my summer.
Best summer ever.
But
Yeah,
now
it's
you're a
multiple
writer.
summer.
So.
But now, so, you know, eventually I do get into reading and to getting into literature, and especially like classical literature. You know, I literally have a stack of like 8 books on my bedside table that I am in the process of reading. And so in my career as, you know, first a digital designer, doing a lot of marketing, a lot of brand stuff for big brands, like you have to do some writing as part of that. And in technology, my job literally is to write technology stories. For all you technology people out there, you know exactly what I'm talking about in terms of agile stories. To write stories all day. All I do is write emails, even though I said I tell people what to do after meetings. I mostly write emails. So I've always written, and I've always done well when I've had to do a paper for class or whatever. And so I've always had this desire to write a book, but I couldn't really figure out what to write. Like I knew there was something in there, but it wouldn't come out. The message wasn't there. It wasn't happening. I'm good for about a 5-minute story. Like I have a lot of 5-minute stories. I don't have a novel in me, period. It would have about 1 million things in it and nothing would happen, right? But there'd be a lot of little funny stories. So, you know, I've wrestled with writing a book multiple times because there's always just sort of this thing in my family, like, oh, you know, like it's a big deal. You know, my grandfather wrote textbooks that most of us used in high school in the 90s, right? And then I'm married to an academic who also has 2 books out there and 16 scientific articles, right? So writing's just kind of our deal. And after I transitioned, I realized that the reason I didn't have a message is because the thing I needed to talk about was being trans. Right. So then it just sort of started to tumble out of me. At first, it started on podcasts like this, where we would talk to people and people would ask me questions. They'd stop me in the hallway at work and ask questions about this or that. And I realized, oh, my book doesn't have to be, you know, this big, long, thoughtful story I'm telling across 30 pages. It doesn't have to be some sort of technically adept or scientifically adept piece of information. It doesn't have to be a piece of nonfiction that's going somewhere really important. What I realized is what people were asking me to do was to talk to them about little things. And I was great at that because it fit in my wheelhouse. So I wrote a book about little things. That's how we're here. It took me 6 months to write the book, 4 months to write the first half of the book, 2 months to write the second half of the book because I learned how to write in the middle of that. So I got faster. And it took 6 months to edit and get it published.
Wow.
So about a year for me.
How did you find working with a publisher as somebody who is who's trans? Like, you know, did you find that some publishers were like, yeah, no, we're not going to deal with you, or were you fairly accepted right away?
Finding a publisher is always a pain, particularly if you're a first-time author, because you don't really have much to show for it. And if they do want to work with a first-time author, they're like, well, do you have 1 million followers? I'm like, girl, no, I have 5,000, right? How does that work? No, okay, cool. So I went with what's called a hybrid publisher. So it's someone who's not quite self-publishing, someone sort of that helps you through the process. You basically can hire an editor, blah, 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 versus traditional publishing. They take your manuscript and they do with it what they want, not what you want, right? But then they're also the ones who have to sell it. So like, I'm the one who has to sell it. So I found a queer publisher, a gal by the name of Jen Grace, who's fantastic at Publish Your Purpose. She's been great to work with. I really love the editors that I work with. Most of them were queer, which is great. But none of them were trans. So for them, it was like a learning experience of how to work with me. And it really wasn't a question of like my transness that was a problem. It was more like, well, what does that term mean? We don't know if that's something we need to edit or not. Like I had to explain the whole idea of your egg cracking to them for them to leave it alone in the book.
Whoa.
Oh my gosh.
Right. So I had to like educate them on transness as we went. And it was great. They're very supportive. They've been fantastic. But there are a lot of people out there that are predatory. There are a lot of big literary houses that aren't going to take you on if you don't already have some clout, some kind of cachet. It can be really hard. Most people wind up writing on their own in some way, having that do well to have enough clout to get with a publisher if you're not a known name, right? And then self-publishing is a real slog because you're doing literally everything yourself. And it'll take you so long because there's just so much to learn and know about how, you can buy my book everywhere. Like if it's a bookstore, they might not have on the shelf, but you can pick it up because that's something that my publisher did that I wouldn't have known how to do.
Right.
Right. So
Right.
they were great. I didn't have any problems, but I know some people have, because I had some connections that knew Jen Grace that like put us together. So that's why it worked out very well for me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's nice. We had another question in here. I just am going to look through really quick to see if there's another one. No, this is one. So I'm going to take the question and then I'm going to change it a little bit though.
Oh,
So
okay.
what's the question is, what was the hardest part of the book to write and how did you overcome it? But I actually kind of want to ask, what was the hardest part of the whole, like, not just necessarily the writing, if it was the writing, fine, but was there a part of the whole experience of, writing and publishing that you found the hardest?
Yeah, two things come to mind that, in terms of a chapter, the one on relationships, which I think is chapter 4,
Mm-hmm.
particularly the intro, because like I give an intro to each chapter and I usually reveal something more about myself. So kind of talking about that coming out process that I went through with my partner, with my family, with my coworkers was sort of hard to revisit some of that and be like, I did that well and kind of fucked that up. Right.
Yeah.
Now, I'm the type of person that will tell you all the things that I've messed up, but I will also tell you all the things that I've done well. Like, I don't get fussed about being real about what's gone on in my life. I really don't. Right. But some things are harder to write out and get out. And for me, what I found was that like succinctness, as you've experienced on this phone call, I ramble and I will just weave all over the place. And so when I've got to answer a single question, like getting myself to stay on that single message is not always the easiest for me. So that was a constant struggle of like editing myself down. Word economy is a big deal in books, right?
Mm-hmm.
But also like, have I written enough words about this yet? Right?
That balance, right?
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
quite a balance between not enough and too much. And the
Yeah.
other thing is that writing a book, and I think obviously when it's about your personal life, that's really quite revealing. But writing a book and putting it out into the public is an incredibly scary thing, right? As someone who is a creative and designer, I'm used to public critique. Some of my work that I did with one of my companies was seen and used 4 billion times. That's not an exaggeration, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it still felt quite like my wife probably hated my guts the month the book came out because I was just like, what are people going to think about me? Even though I've been living out loud for years, that kind of exposure you have to something that's been your baby. People call it a book baby, right? To putting that out there and being like, go and consume.
Yeah.
And you open yourself up to like, your sales and your reviews and public thoughts become a judgment on who you are as a person and how well you did this thing that you labored at. So that kind of feeling so exposed to share something so precious really put me through the ringer. But you're going to publish a book. You have to get through that.
It's actually going to be one of my questions is like something so personal and how you like, you basically put yourself out there, made yourself vulnerable and, all of the details. And like, I must applaud you on that because that's such a hard thing to do, even just to one-on-one with another person, but to put it out there is just, that's amazing. That is truly amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's what made the episodic memoir Blue Sky Bird possible because people kept wanting my story. And so kind of getting to put it out there and experience putting it out there has given me the courage to be like, no, here's some real fucking raw shit that went down in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And some things we haven't gotten to yet because I'm like, I need to bring you along in the story before I tell you something really fucking dark. Right. So like, but I'm not worried about sharing that type of stuff anymore because now I've done it. Now, that's not true for everybody. Right. But now it doesn't feel quite so exposing. But there are certain parts of my life that I will never talk about publicly. Because they're mine, or they involve people that shared that experience with me and they have not given consent for that to be out.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
Do you, and I know that your book came out, I think,
last
in November.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you think like
poor timing?
Well, even just for the point that you were just making about like that feeling of putting yourself out there, that you would have experienced anyway, right? just being a, first time published author, having it be something that is still very central to who you are, the topic, even though it's not a memoir, it still has your anecdotes and it's just still very central to who you are.
Mhm.
So, how was it, especially in light of the outcome of the election and,
That's
the
a
fascist.
very astute question, Jess. So, I turned this book over to my publisher officially May 31st of 2024, at a time when I think Biden was still in the election process, right? And I felt very positive. I was like, oh yeah, no fucking way we're voting for fascism, right? I mean, come on. And so, I'm not really thinking about, there are some political things in the book, right, to a certain degree, but it's not like a political book other than in that trans people are politicized, right?
Yeah.
And so as I'm going through the process, I'm like, oh, this is all going to be fine. And then as we are coming up on the published date, my publisher reaches out to me, I think in late October, and it's like, so what if November 5th is not a good day? What do you want to do? And I sat with that over the weekend, and I was like, no, we published it anyways. And she's like, good, I'm glad you said that. But also our launch thing might be a little bit different.
Yeah.
So you could, if you go to YouTube, Publish Your Purpose on YouTube, you can actually go see my launch video, I think 8 days after the election. It was meant to be like, yay! And it was like, well, let's talk about what we do in this moment. So it was really kind of wild to put that out there and to have this sort of event be the outcome, right? And at first I was really quite worried. I was like, oh, this sort of exposes me in a way. And nothing's happened. I mean, I've sold some books. That's happened. Done some podcasts. I haven't been banned anywhere yet. And I really want someone to fucking ban my book because it'll sell a lot more.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
But also
as soon
just
as
like,
it's on that banned book
guys,
list, it's
sorry.
like, phew.
Yeah.
So it was really kind of like a worrisome time. And Jen and I made the conscious decision to talk both about the book and to talk about that moment and what it might mean for trans people. So I haven't gone back and watched that in a while, so don't really know how it's held up.
Yeah.
We shall see. But it is, that is a moment that we planned for that we did not want to have to do. But that's what had to air.
Yeah.
Did you do like a full book launch, like book signings and things like that at a
I did some
store?
like local things like that. I didn't have enough pre-orders for me to feel like I want to spend my money gallivanting across the United States, asking people, like I didn't want to like show up to a bookstore with 5 people. So it was something I've always held in reserve. Like if it does well enough, eventually I will maybe do something like that. But I've done some local things. And if you want a signed book, by the way, you can buy it from my website and I will sign it and send it to you. But you can also just go to Amazon or buy it for your Kindle or go into the queer bookstore.
By the way, there is somebody in chat who just said you just sold another one. So there you
sweet.
go. You've
Great.
already
There you go.
reached out to somebody here. So
I just made
thank you,
$5.
Tran.
Yeah, mine is signed. Mine is signed.
Is
I'm
it
gonna
signed?
show
Oh my
It's-
gosh.
It's,
What
it's
does it
in
say?
silver, so you can't.
I think I still have that silver highlighter, but now I think I've had to switch to gold because it's almost at ink.
Yeah. Okay, I will read it. I'm like, it's my special message. Okay, you wrote it though, so I will.
Yeah,
read
I did write it, but it's probably a.
it. No, it just says to Jess, enjoy, lots of love, Erica, and there's a big heart. See?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. So this was on my
Aw.
table this morning. My dad came to visit, and I like went out of the room for a minute, and I come back in, and he's reading it, and I was like, cool. And he's like, hey, the author signed your book, and I was like, yeah,
we do
I
that.
know her. And he's like, huh. And I was gonna be like, you should borrow it, but I was like, I need it today. But now I need to be like, all right, Dad, you can borrow this book now. This could be
This is a
helpful.
perfect segue into another question that we
Oh,
had
great.
that
Okay.
is absolutely amazing. What do you hope readers will take away from the book?
2 things. I think about this 2 ways. If you are trans, non-binary, wherever you fit, I hope that what this book doesn't do is tell you how to live your life.
Yeah.
Right. That's not how I roll. And Jess has read probably like 3 pages. So she can tell you those 3 pages don't tell you how to live your life. Or sorry, he. Damn it.
All right.
I know. I got it. I'm moving on. And What I hope that trans people take from this book is a sense of like, I have agency. I can plot my course.
Mhm.
What Erica talks about is a way to think about something instead of here's what you should do. Like everything is built around that idea of here's something that happened. Here's a question I get asked. Maybe here's an interesting anecdote about what I went through. And this is why I think about that thing. My goal is for you to do the work, to ask yourself, what's the best thing to happen for me as I go forward, because I can't speak for I can't even speak for the two of you on this podcast effectively, right? Because I'm not you. So my goal is to point you in a direction and say, go discover, go figure out. And so that's what happens through a lot of these questions. And that's why Jess brings up agency. If you are not trans, as I said before, it is an excellent book. Help you understand the trans experience, like the things we think about. There's an exercise in there to like, how do you know if you're trans? Because I get asked that a lot, and I break it down to like 3 basic questions, right? And I have to follow that up with to say like, well, the people, that seems like 3 really basic questions, but if you're trans, they're existential crisis causing questions, right? Or if you want to know what it's like to be trans in the workplace, go read the section about that and understand what it's like to be an out trans person interviewing for jobs and how that can be an opportunity to ask what it's like to be at your workplace, right? So it is, oh Lord, big storm. It is an excellent book to inform people on the trans experience that might not know, maybe because they have a coworker, they have a neighbor, someone on their soccer team, someone that they've become friends with, or they just you want to be a better ally and understand trans people instead of just be like, I'm an ally. This is a great book to move you along so you have context into why trans people talk about and do the things that they do.
So, fun fact, just based off of what you were just talking about, is applying for jobs. I just recently had to go through that because, my company, the hotel I work for, is closing due to renovations. So, of course, they're laying off all their people. By the way, Jess, you just put it in the chat again. They can't hear it. They can't see that. Jess said, go read the books. But it was interesting process because of the fact is of course, applying for places. And then one of the things they ask for is references.
People still do that.
I went through my trans journey at this property. So basically, all of my references came from that property. And they're, I was so worried they would be like, okay, well, what if we contact, somebody from your past? Because, I've been in hospitality for, oh my gosh, 20 odd years. And so it's just like, you can contact them, but they'll have no idea who I am. They'll have no record of me. They'll have, I didn't go back to them and say, hey, I transitioned. No.
Right.
So it's interesting that you say that because it was a huge thing for me. And then even just the week before I left my previous job was one of the hardest weeks for me because the job I left was once again where I came out. They knew me, they accepted me, they worked with me, they in Banff, the summer is the busiest period, and lo and behold, I got a surgery date in June to, go have bottom surgery, which means I was gone for 3 months. I was gone the entire summer.
Right.
And I had to go and have that conversation. And they were like, do it. Go with it. And it was just this whole thing of just like, holy crap, this place, it means so much to me. First of all, I'm trying to apply away from it, and now I'm actually leaving it. These are things that, a lot of people don't understand these connections that we have. And it's like, I remember talking to somebody at one point, and they're like, yeah, you're just moving on. It's like, it's more than just me moving on.
Yeah, I agree. I've changed jobs twice since I came out. And each time was a little bit of a different experience. And it was weird. Like I was laid off from the job where I transitioned because that was, it was post-COVID. That's what was happening in technology. And it was hard to leave that company because they knew me. They knew my journey. I was one of the most, I think at that company, there's probably 30 trans people because they have like 50,000 employees. And I was one of the more prominent ones because I happened to be in a leadership role where the CEO checked in on my work occasionally, but didn't couldn't have told you my name, but because of that made me, I would walk through the hallway of our campus with 5,000 people and have 10 people stop me. And I'd be like, I'm just trying to get to lunch. And, changing jobs and then changing again, I had to kind of go through that. But however, the first job I was pursued quite often by other companies. So like I was constantly sort of like having to start phone calls with like, I'm trans, right? Right. And that's me. That's the way I roll. Like I'm very out. I'm very open. I'm very loud about it. I love asking. I love putting them on the spot and be like, now what are you going to do? Tell me. And I use that to ask about what's your index, in terms of equality. How are you doing with that? What are your programs? What's happening with your ERGs? Do you have an ERG? How mature are they? What do you know, person? Because like, here's the deal. When I walk into the office first time, even if somehow you think this is, a passing cis female face, you're gonna be like, oh, damn, that's a 6 foot tall lady, right? And so I'd rather just be out and open about it. But the references thing is weird when I have to like list on my resume, because I've been in tech for 25 years. Like if they call anybody beyond the last 2 jobs, they're going to be like, who is Erica Vogel? I changed my entire name. All 3 names have changed, right? Because I took my wife's last name when I changed my name.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah. And, it sort of puts you in this awkward position of being like, I guess we'll see what happens, right?
Yep.
And for me, it's worked out fine. I've obviously found 2 jobs since that time. This last time, because there's some weird stuff going with the HR, which wasn't meant to be like transphobic or outing people, but because I work in financial technology, I have to pass a background check for every job, fingerprints, drug tests, all of that stuff, because I move people's money around. And something got mixed up. So I had to like, even though it was obvious, I had to like sort of re-out myself because I transitioned from the HR person that was part of the interview process to the onboarding person. I had to out myself to say, look, the reason why you're not seeing that match, that's because it's in my old name when the world thought I was a dude.
Yeah.
Right. And so there is some of that happens. And like you're talking about, Samera, the referral process, or like when they check your resume, if they do, and a lot of companies don't, you still have to like put it out there and wonder what's going to happen. And you may have to talk about your transness, which is something you shouldn't have to do. And most companies don't want you to do, but occasionally you get put into that situation where you have to be like, look, I'm trans. That's why there's a name change.
Yeah. I mean, thankfully, the job I went into is a very queer-friendly place.
Yeah.
The person who was training me, within the first 2 days, she was, going off talking about her and her wife and how they had a kid. And it's just like, okay, I am safe here. But there is a part of me that is also like, nobody knows me at this new place, so nobody knows the fact that I'm trans. I am not the token trans person anymore in the front office.
Yeah. There's something nice about that.
There's something, it is honestly a huge weight, because there was always the part of my mind that, working at the previous job, that, am I just here because I'm the token trans person that they can put, we have equity, we participate in the DEI program.
Look how how very DEI we are.
Exactly. Look at how supportive we are of this person.
This one person who causes us no problems.
And by the way, on that, like I was invited to do like a commercial for like working in the Banff area because of the fact that I was DI.
That happens. Yeah, I saw someone ask an earlier question about like my advocacy in the workplace, and I'm here to tell y'all, honey, half of my advocacy in the workplace is just being the trans person in the workplace.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think you're talking about this question is, what are your long-term goals related to promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion in the workplace?
It wasn't quite that one, but it's pretty close to that.
Was there another one?
I think it was from Bree Moonfry.
Yeah,
Moonfire.
There's another one. How do you foster diversity and inclusion?
There you go.
So yeah,
well, there's 2 of them.
There's 2 of them.
But
so yeah.
By the way, you did just sell another book to Bree Moonfry. There you go, 2 books.
We love it. Now I can get myself lunch tomorrow.
There you go.
At work. Y'all, I get like $5 per book. Okay,
It's great. That's like half a coffee.
I
these
love
days
you,
it's like
chat.
half a coffee. You know?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, did we want to take some questions, or I can?
Well, I
answer
mean, if you want to jump
Moonfires?
into that whole diversity, that was
Well, I don't
a
want to
question.
subvert your show. If you had some more to.
No. This is your show right now. Like, you're our guest.
Yeah, let's take some questions. Pick some questions.
Well, I'm curious too, kind of on because I know you've been part of employee resource groups.
Sometimes it is employee research groups.
I know, right?
Let's ask our employees how we should behave.
What has shifted I know you're in fintech, but what has shifted with that? Has anything shifted with that since the election?
A lot has shifted. Granted, I work in a large size corporate America since 2010, right? So I can't speak on small businesses. I can only sort of infer what's happened. So we've seen most big companies publicly or privately adjust their stance on DEI, one way or the other, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some have been like, no, screw that, we're doubling down. And some have been like, great, we get to say all the awful words in the office again, right? And there's a wide swath of companies that have been like, well, we still believe in DEI, but we can't really publicly talk about it because it really causes a lot of problems for us.
Yeah.
Right? People can boycott our product, and like that sort of rationalizing, how do we deal with this? How do we make this happen? And I think that's been the larger thing. So what we've seen is budget cuts, but also it's coming at a time when there are budget cuts for all kinds of reasons, because as I said earlier, there are millions of people without jobs. And meanwhile, companies have learned that, again, rabbit hole, I apologize, have learned that by cutting operational overhead, it looks like they're increasing the efficiency of their company, which does what? Puts more money in the billionaires' pockets that invest in the stock market, which most Americans don't. Right. So they've learned this lesson of how to make money by doing less. So there've been budget cuts everywhere, and DEI is one of them. And this is despite this moment and the context that has, and yes, that's true. But when we cut budgets, we cut marketing, we cut design, we cut sales, we cut DEI, we cut HR consistently in the entirety history of a corporate. That's something that happens every 5 years. We go through this cycle. This time adds some more context. So the company that I'm at, they've always had kind of they have a really good rating right now. I'm not going to say it on the air, but if you go to LinkedIn, you can see who I work for. They have a really good rating with just about everybody out there. They have a really good group of people in their ERG, very safe place for careers. They have a good long-standing history. So I felt really positive about working for this company. Mm-hmm. But that company versus the one I was at 2 years ago, who was at the forefront of DEI advocacy and now has walked a lot of that back, right? Another big financial company. And if you go to LinkedIn, you can see exactly who that is. 2 jobs ago.
We're not pointing fingers.
It's a coincidence. If you look at my LinkedIn, I looked at 2 employers ago. I can't control what you do. So we're seeing a softening a lot because companies are I think they're hoping that things will ease up and be easier. So they're not having to marginalize their employees further, but they're not risking public ire and sanctions, which we've obviously, like when we go back to CBS, we see how real that is, like the bribe they were forced to pay, right? Mm-hmm. So it's a different time. If you are looking for your company to be like, rah, 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 we're on your side, it's probably more like, we're so glad that you're here. And we hope that you'll stick with us while we all figure out how to navigate this fucked up. It's probably the most common experiences. What I've heard from small businesses, it's gotten quite dark, right? Because they were sort of forced into this, because when you're a small corporation or a small business, it's really however the owner wants to run things. And at a certain point, they have to be competitive in the marketplace to hire. And now they don't. Yeah. And so when you when there are a handful of jobs, employers have the power in the marketplace, and they don't have to offer good things to their employees to get a job because, well, we all need a goddamn job. And so that really also comes at the worst, because this was going on before Trump took office, right? We've been in this slow decline for the last 3 years, which has gone off a cliff for sure since January 20th, right? But that slow cutback on stuff has led to this sort of like milquetoast DEI that we experience every 5 to 10 years with a backdrop of fascism. So it's a weird place to be in. I have a lot of friends that work in the DEI space that are consultants that are struggling to find jobs, people who've lost their jobs. It's a hard space to work in right now. And so that's why you'll see it listed under quite a few different names. These days, we're changing the name to sort of get away from the bad connotations it was given, right? Because, the Trump regime has been all about turning white supremacy on the head to make it look like if you're not a white supremacist, you're a racist.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is like the reframing of DEI as, what have I seen it as, like leadership?
Belonging.
Belonging. Yeah. Yeah.
Getting away from the acronym, because here's the thing, all the anti-DEI people, they can't tell you what the acronym stands for. So if you could just call it, I don't know, Cookie Monster, and still be doing DEI thing, and they'd be like, oh, great, you're not doing it. You love Cookie Monster.
Yeah.
They don't, if you ask people on the street, they're like, it's the worst. You're like, well, what is it? And what has it done? Oh, by the way, did you know that DEI has actually done more for white women than any other sector of the marginalized world?
Right.
So you're also like screwing over the women in your party, but we also know that's kind of their plan.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's been the story that's been going on the entire time, is that all of the forward thinking of, pride and LGBTQ and BIPOC and everything else that goes with it has actually helped white women as well. Like, this is not just...
They have been the primary benefactor.
It's this whole thing. And then it's this whole thing that's turning into now, like, TERFs are coming out, and it's just like, I know that's a terrible term, but I mean, it was coined by a TERF, but so I...
Yeah.
There are worse terms.
Apparently cis is a really bad term too.
The worst term. And also it's a brand new term. No one's totally not a Latin term that has Latin meaning that's been used a lot.
Oh, good old origins of cis and trans and everything else. We are kind of winding down to our time. So as we come to our end here, I guess the best question I can ask you is, based on everything that we talked about, and advocacy, and, building up the, relationships and taking care of yourself, what aftercare do you have planned for after this show to take care of yourself?
I'm going to go and finish dinner. On our break, I shoved a lot of food in my mouth. And I have a big mouth, so a lot of food fits in there. It's fine. So I'm going to finish that. And I will probably do 3 things at the same time. 1, watch something that we're streaming, like we love Foundation, so we've been watching the new Foundation series, and we'll watch some sort of show. While I'm doing that, I'll probably be doing some embroidery work. I picked up embroidery as a little, like I said, when you turn 45 or 50, you get assigned a hobby, and the hobby I was assigned was embroidery.
Okay. And birding.
Yes. So I'll be like making really ugly embroidery stitches because I'm not very good at it yet, but it's fine. It's relaxing. While my partner is putting together a Lego flower set next to me. She's wildly obsessed with Lego flowers. And she's a person who loved flowers. So it's been wild to be like, well, I guess you don't want real flowers in the house. She's like, these last forever. Yeah. Also, she recently got me the Lego unicorn as a surprise gift.
Wow, that's really nice.
I love
so
that.
Proud. That
you can also become a parrot and a seahorse, but we're sticking with unicorn.
It's one of those creator sets. Aha, I know those.
So that, and probably eating way too many peanut butter M&Ms, because those are my favorite desserts. That will be my aftercare
That's
tonight.
Perfect. That's perfect.
Because I do have to work tomorrow. So
there you go.
I can't
Yeah.
have a drink or a gummy. Okay.
Yeah. There you go.
What are you guys doing after the show? What are you doing for your own app?
I'll go.
Go ahead, Jess.
You're like,
no, Jess, you're going first. You're going first.
I think I'm gonna go. My family is out of town. So I've been bacheloring it all week.
Okay.
So I think I'm gonna take myself out for like a burger and a beer. I think that's
nice.
what I'm up to. Yeah, I don't have to work tomorrow. I'm gonna go on a hike tomorrow morning, so I think I'm gonna. I had actually gotten a gift card for this brewery, of which there are, way too many in this town, but they're all really good.
There are. Asheville has one brewery per person.
Yeah, pretty much. Everybody gets their assigned brewery when they move to town. I got a gift card for it actually right before the storm hit. Somebody got me a gift card for my birthday, and then the storm hit and everything shut down. And I realized that I still had it, and I was like, I really need to use this thing. It's like almost a year old, man.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go do that, which is just a fun little. May take a book with me and have some like very quiet adult time. Yeah,
2 questions.
Just to chill.
2 follow-up questions for you before we go on to Samera. What's your beer of choice?
My beer of choice?
Doesn't have to be a brand, but like a type.
Yeah. Right now, in the summer, because I don't drink much anymore. Although it's funny, our last podcast, we did a drinking stream, which was really wild. Yeah, but I don't really drink very often anymore. So I actually really like a session IPA. Okay. It's also because it's like a little hoppy, but it's not like super duper hoppy. It's like kind of on the lighter side. It's nice for summer. I'll probably be sitting outside. So
I cannot drink an IPA. Can't get through it.
Yeah, at this point, the more intense, like kind of the general 7% IPAs that are really, really hoppy are a little too much for me. That's kind of nice about, I feel like sessions are like, if you took that and like a lager and blended them together, that's kind of what a session is. It's like, there's a little hops on there, but it's much lighter and less mouthfully.
Follow-up question number 2. What is the book that you were reading?
The book. Okay, I will. So actually, I'm just about to crack it. So this is kind of exciting.
Ooh.
It's N.K. Jemison's. It is the first book. It's a long title, so I'm going to have to look it up. It's the first book in the Inheritance trilogy series.
Okay.
So my mother-in-law gave me her Broken Earth series over the holidays, and I read it and loved it, and it was really awesome. And somebody was like, hey, that series is really hard to get into. Did you find it? And I was like, no, I thought it was great, but I'm like really into sci-fi. And they were like, oh, well, the Inheritance trilogy is like a lot easier to read. So it's something, I'll look it up.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm actually
hard,
really
crunchy
excited.
sci-fi.
Yes. It's hard, crunchy sci-fi. Yeah.
Cool. I like some of that. Okay. What about you, Samera? What are you doing?
I have not a lot of plan. And of course, Jess had to bring up the drinking stream from last time. And I still haven't been able to. No, that's not true. I have had an alcoholic drink since then. And even having that was like bringing back a little bit of the memories of
you guys
that.
really went after it, huh? Good times? Was it good?
It's true.
They didn't. I did.
Samara,
they were pussies. They pussied out.
I wouldn't. I would have gone toe to toe with you.
They were doing like little sips of just these tiny drinks, and here I am doing proper drinks for a drinking. Like no.
They're trying to keep it together and be all prim for the podcast. So you got to go. You got to get with the program.
Yeah, I was going.
I was going for it. Yeah, and
by
River
the
apparently
end,
has a massive tolerance, but yeah.
Okay. What else? Okay, so not doing anything is definitely doing something good. Though.
No alcohol. No, I'm probably just going to have a chill evening. Probably going to go for a walk because it is fairly nice out, and I live in one of the natural wonders of the world, so
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Haven't made it to Banff
and
yet.
I'm actually going to be probably reading a book as well, because I haven't been doing a lot of reading lately, and so one of the things I've decided to challenge myself with is I have actually taken over a section of this podcast in doing Friday, every other Friday of trying to read a book and then go over said book and talk about said book.
Oh, like a book group via podcast.
Exactly. And then if chatter people want to join me, then they can do so. But the book I'm reading, and I don't care that I'm showing this on stream because I'm a spicy person.
Yeah. Oh, so you're reading that book. Okay.
People have talked about it. My family, well, my sister-in-law included. Not my family, because if my family told me about it, I probably wouldn't read it. But my sister-in-law, 100%. So it was one of those things that it's like, okay, I'll read it. And so I bought this book, and so the fun thing is the receipt is still in it. And I bought this book almost a year ago October 19th, 2024. So this is how long a book has been sitting on my shelf. And I've also come to the realization that because we have markets here, some authors sell their books at the market, and I go to these market vendors, I see their books, I talk to them, and then I hear about their books, and it's like, oh, that sounds interesting. So I buy a book. You
And
kind
that
of see
stays
where
in the
this is
stack.
going.
Yeah,
is,
I have the same
yeah.
problem.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I've got a backlog of books that I need to read. Like I've got 3 over here. I've got this one on my desk. I've got 2 beside my desk.
Mhm.
And so it's just this ongoing thing. So that's probably going to be my evening, is trying to get started and get reading into it, because I still haven't started it, and it's already been 2 days since I started this challenge. So I'm doing great.
There you go.
Awesome.
It's time to read for everybody.
Yeah. I am reading Propaganda,
Okay.
a book by Freud's nephew, no less, about propaganda and how it works and all the ways it has impacted our society. So it's quite an interesting read.
Yeah.
And I'm also reading Verity Vox by Don Martin.
I've
It
been
just came
wanting to
out.
get Verity Vox. I want to is it well, I need to look up is there just one? I know that
This is
Verity
the first
Vox.
one.
This is the first one. Okay.
Yeah. It's not his first book, but it's his first.
It's the
in
first
this
one in this series.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's been on my list of things to get as well. Because I love Don on social media.
Yeah, Don's a man, and he's far too gorgeous to be alive.
Yeah, he's
he's
amazing.
You just gave me another book to put on my list.
Yeah.
I love this. This is great.
And here's a reason you'll love Don Martin. Not only is he super gay and fun, but his new books that just debuted have knocked the evil lady herself off of the magical fantasy pedestal, and he's overtaken like 2 of her books since they came out.
And he also makes he makes content on like a lot of things generally, but he is very specifically goes after the evil lady herself.
Oh yeah,
like very very specifically, like
all while wearing a very ripped up tank top with lots of tanned muscles. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's a sight if that's what
it's
you're
pretty
into.
incredible. It's pretty
That's
incredible.
amazing. We need to continue.
He's big on TikTok. I think he has like
half
500,000 followers on TikTok, but Threads he's like 40,000. Yeah. Go check him out. His books are good so far. Yeah.
That's nice. I'm glad.
I know I'm like a tiny bit, but that's it.
Yeah.
That makes
I
me
got
so
the
happy.
title of the one I'm reading, so I'll just say that. So it's the 100,000 Kingdoms is the one that I'm about to start. That's the book one from N.K. Jemisin. I think it's like relatively, I don't know when exactly it was published, but it's like relatively new-ish. I mean, it's definitely like in the last, I don't know.
Okay. One last question, because I know we're 3 minutes over, and that's probably verboten. Verboten. Jess, since you're a big sci-fi person.
Yeah.
I like a lot of sci-fi, but I also like ludicrous sci-fi.
Okay.
Have you read the Bobaverse series?
No.
Lord, okay, we're having a storm and the lights just flickered. Bobaverse, B-O-B-verse.
Okay.
It is I think there's like 7 or 8 books now, full of references to the 80s and 90s about a guy who gets has his brain turned into a probe that's into deep space. It's a lot of fun.
Is this the one by Dennis E. Taylor?
Yeah, Dennis E. Taylor.
Okay.
Another book to add to my list. You guys are
doing
great.
It is sci-fi with absurdist humor. So if you're not into absurdist humor, then that's not sci-fi for you.
Okay. No, that's fair warning, but that's good. I love that. No, I'm all about fantasy, sci-fi, really out there. Funny is great.
Funny is great. My favorite funny author is Michael.
Yes.
Oh,
he is funny.
He has quite a few. Wait, his last name is Moore. I hope it's Michael. I might have just missed that, but he has quite a few. His series about some guy taking over for death in San Francisco is wildly hilarious.
Okay,
sounds awesome.
Yeah, but he owns a secondhand store in San Francisco, so he also has to run his shop while doing his death duties.
Okay. This is not the Michael Moore that I'm thinking.
No, not that Michael Moore. Christopher Moore. Christopher Moore.
Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, Christopher Moore.
Totally wildly different author. Also wildly inappropriate books. So not to be read around your children.
Okay.
Christopher
also good
Moore.
warning. Christopher
Yeah.
Moore.
I feel like absurdist humor that's a little bit goth. That's your guy.
Okay. Yeah. Great.
Perfect.
Not Michael Moore. He's not funny.
Amazing. Well, thank you all for coming out tonight. And thank you, Erica,
Yeah.
for joining us on this
Thanks for
show. This
having
has
me.
been absolutely amazing. We appreciate all of your candor and getting to know you. Once again, I posted Erica's socials in the chat, so please go follow her, buy her book.
Mhm.
Apparently it's become a hit on the chat, so yay.
Read the wild things I
Um,
say on socials too.
Absolutely. So yeah. So thank you all for coming, and
right.
we'll just do the
We're gonna play
outro.
the outro. Bye, y'all.
Let's see if I can do this without
Bye.
breaking it.
No one gets back home tonight, and it's so